of school, but we're also going to schools. We're going to the secondary schools and we're talking to them.
I coordinate our programs in Central Region, which comprises of 5 counties. We profile areas where we have many cases of illicit brews and substances of abuse. And we have a kikao, or a sit down with the community. And we talk them through the problem, and we help them to discover or come up with solutions to their own problems. On this one, I would like to cite a very successful session we had somewhere in Muranga, in Kiharu, where there was an uproar of the increase of bangi, and the peddlers were even destroying children as young as 6 years. That is for class 1, 2, and 3. They were using them to peddle within the community. And we had a forum where we interacted with the community and we came up with the resolution. One, remember, issues of alcohol and drug abuse also has a correlation with security. So we realized the problem was that the community there, they were fearing to report the peddlers within themselves. And when you sat them down and made them realize that if they don't report, it is the same community which is getting destroyed, we came up with a resolution that they will not hide or shy away from reporting such culprits. And actually, out of that sitting, we came up with a list of the peddlers which were shared with the security officers, and within 1 week there was a crackdown. Then they made a resolution that they will not allow anybody else involved in those to live within the community. So in case we are doing that, you are banished. And 3-4 months down the line, we are happy that now the community would say screen of those.
We have programs for women. We have programs for parents. We have programs for school-going children. We have programs for youth out of schools. And we have programs also for public sector institutions. And that also includes TVET, universities and other colleges. That's what we actually majorly do. We also coordinate crackdown on illicit alcohol and illicit drugs. And of particular attention is actually cannabis, which most people know as bangi. We've been having problems with the bangi that comes from Shashamane in Ethiopia.
These regional offices work closely with the National Government Administration Officers, NGAO, to campaign against alcohol and drug abuse within the unique respective areas.
NGAO is a department in the Ministry of Interior, and one of our performance indicators is to fight drug and substance abuse. So we have to work with NACADA because NACADA brings in other players, like the anti-counterfeit, the issue of those people that are not paying their revenue, so they bring in KRA. So it's able to bring the other players on board, so that GAO, the police, and NACADA are able to work together. So what we do, we carry a number of crackdowns right from the village level. We involve the assistant chiefs, we come to the location, we involve the chiefs, and it's a continuous crackdown. But maybe the unfortunate bit is that we are only dealing with reducing the consumption, but you're not really dealing with where it is brewed and the standards. So sometimes we make a lot of good gains, and sometimes we make a lot of losses, because we fight one route because NACADA is not consistently on the ground. Maybe I don't know whether it's the issues of funding, so they are here today, when they're very responsive but not consistent on the ground because of the issues of funding. So we've been working very closely with NACADA.
National administration plays a coordinating role. It coordinates all government agencies in the field, and NACADA, being one of them, benefits from that coordination.
We have a multi-agency unit at Archer's Post, which involves NACADA, DCI officers, KRA, CAPES, all the officers that constitute the multi-agency, to ensure that we nab and arrest fellows that pass through there, or drugs that pass through there. We have a unit, a special unit also, which specifically coordinated by NACADA and our team to arrest. We also have a sniffer dog there that we use to arrest these drug traffickers. And we have really done a great job. In the last 1 year I've been here, we have arrested several officers, even government officers also involved in the drug business, and also other Kenyans.
porous borders, lack of common policy to govern narcotic substances within East Africa community, traffickers coming up with different channels to evade roadblocks, and inadequate coordination among key players, among others, are the challenges facing the campaign against alcohol and drug abuse.
What you realize is that most of our borders are not properly manned, that I have to admit. And from Ethiopia, we have a lot of porous borders that people can access our country even through the bush. We have identified over 56 routes, trafficking routes for cannabis from Shashamane to Kenya. But of particular mention is from Shashamane, Ethiopia, to Marsabit, to Isiolo, to Meru, all through Nanyuki, Nairobi, to Mombasa. And because of that, we've been having various programs, especially in Isiolo, Meru, and Marsabit. We've also brought in other regions, our neighboring regions like Northeastern, because it's also part of the route. We've also brought in Mombasa because it appeared to be the destination.
When it comes to issues of substance use, they are evolving, they are dynamic, yes. So we have new emerging trends, new emerging drugs, and so even the law will need to keep changing with the changing times. We didn't have any legislation about shisha, miraa. These are emerging drugs that are not addressed in our current laws. And so the law, the legislations and the laws have to evolve with the emerging trends that are coming up.
Contrary to what people know as substances of abuse, we have so many new substances that are being abused by especially the young people that we didn't know before, but we now know they exist. And the biggest challenge is around prescription drugs, which are the most abused especially by young people.
NACADA works closely with schools, institutions of higher learning, workplaces, county governments, ministries, parastatals, national government administration offices, community-based organizations, CBOs, non-governmental organizations, NGOs, self-help groups, faith-based organizations, in addition to individuals working towards ridding the society of the menace of alcohol and drugs.
NACADA is a program where we are targeting primary school pupils so that we create awareness at that young age of the dangers of alcohol and substances. And in that we have a program we call Life Skills Training, which is targeting class 5 pupils to inculcate in them life skills, which will help them to make informed decisions so that they can avoid the influence of using substances. Why we are targeting class 5 pupils is because that's the age when between 12-13 it becomes the experimental stage as they grow, and that's the time they try to experiment some of these substances. And going from the feedback we have been receiving, that is very, very effective, in the sense that teachers in those or teachers who are dealing with those people have seen remarkable improvement in academic performance and discipline among those people who have gone through that program.
Implementing the life skill program for me has been one of the greatest milestones. I have gone to a school to undertake monitoring, and you get very good feedback from the head teachers, whereby they are telling you now our children have better communication skills. You know, they are able to solve problems better, they are able to socialize better. Because life skill is basically about, you know, empowering the child with skills on how to handle the problems they encounter. And one of the problems they will encounter is substance use.
NACADA comprises a board of directors provided under NACADA Act of 2012, which is made up of expert individuals with key competencies representing strategic line ministries. Others representing special interest groups are also incorporated to promote diversity of thought and ideas in strategic policy formulation in dealing with alcohol and drug abuse in the country.
We work very well with the management team. We have an excellent management team that is very hardworking and forthright. And the laws that are there we also assess them. If there are any that need to be looked at, re-looked at, we do advise through the proper parliamentary committee that is concerned with us, and we do it very well. And the direction that I'm very happy about that we have taken is the one that I've already talked about, the setting up of rehab centers, which can now take care of Kenyans, so that now we can reduce on the incarceration, and the Kenyans can now go for counseling and rehabilitation.
Day-to-day management affairs of the authority and programs are vested in the office of the Chief Executive Officer.
We have seen a lot of progress in terms of the public sector institutions implementing specific programs, prevention programs, and some of them are able to allow the employees who are affected access rehabilitation services. The other thing that I would like to mention is the issue of various surveys that we have actually conducted that have helped us to design specific programs to respond to the findings from these surveys. We did another survey around the issues of emerging substances of abuse in the country, and the findings were shocking because contrary to what people know as substances of abuse, we have so many new substances that are being abused by especially the young people.
NACADA also assists and supports the county governments in developing and implementing policies, laws, plans of action, and control of alcohol and drug abuse.
NACADA has taken its rightful place as a national focal point on issues of alcohol and drugs. Remember, Kenya, we have two tiers of government. We have the national government and the county governments. So the authority now coordinates interventions for those two levels of government, ensuring that we have a very active involvement from non-state actors, churches, and people who are also affected by drugs. So the authority has developed quite a number of guidelines to support different stakeholders in implementing interventions related to prevention of alcohol and drug abuse, treatment for people with substance use disorders, as well as the issues of compliance and ensuring the implementation of national laws for alcohol and drug control.
At the same time, the other policy direction that we have taken is to engage governors also, so that now the governors, are the ones who do the registering of bars. And we are working on the governors so that they can have a change of mindset, so that now they realize that they should not just increase the number of bars. They should follow the law. The law stipulates where the bars should be placed and the distance.
Over the years, there are key milestones that the authority has achieved.
NACADA has done very well, over 90%. Everybody knows alcohol is bad. We used to have T-shirts, we used to have seminars, we could arrange for convoys bigger than the ones we have been doing on the campaigns, do little campaigns, inspectorates, and so forth. And we're going now to phase 2, where we're going to have the state-of-the-art laboratory, so that when you say alcohol is bad, you're able to do ABCD.
Over the years, there are key milestones that the authority has achieved, and a few of these include the process of establishing the country's first government-owned Center of Excellence in Treatment and Rehabilitation at Miritini in Mombasa County, accreditation of more than 100 rehabilitation centers, mounting of tens of life skills training programs, as well as carrying out multi-sectoral-led crackdowns and other enforcement activities.
It was a former NYS substation which housed so many NYS men. So when the president was in Mombasa sometime in 2015, he directed that this facility be converted into a rehabilitation center to address the challenges raised by leaders from the region. I think we have a big dream. We have done a master plan, but as we are talking now, we have about 250 patients who come and go, and around 45 inpatients who are undergoing treatment. And we have a concept which is actually holistic management of addiction. And we are We are hopeful that the people who will go through our rehab, they go through the comprehensive package, where they will come in for screening, go into counseling, go into either individual or group counseling. Then when they stabilize, we want to engage them with activities within the compound. And finally, when we are sure they can now be able to take livelihood skills, we are actually finalizing a workshop in Miritini, which would be offering that skills development kind of thing. I therefore see that as one of the very successful achievements.
The Narcotics, Drugs and Psychotropic Substances Control Act was gazetted in March 7, 2022, setting the scene for the implementation of the law. The law provides a structure for combating the abuse of narcotics, drugs and psychotropic substances by prescribing several penalties.
When a person is brought in court, we look at the law under which this person has been charged. So the main act that governs this is the Narcotic Drugs and Psychotropic Substances Control Act. So you look at what the law says. If there is sufficient evidence, you get back to the law and say, what penalty does the law prescribe? So if the law says a minimum of 250,000, in most cases that is what you'll give.
NACADA has undertaken various interventions in an effort to address alcohol and drug abuse in the country. These interventions have largely focused on demand reduction and supply suppression, which involves formulating strategies to control the production, trafficking and sale of alcohol and drugs.
One, and which is very, very popular, is supply suppression. Police, or like they're doing in Nairobi now today, a whole battalion of people working from bar to bar, you can supply with that. Nobody succeeds in the world. Both drugs and alcohol, nobody succeeds. The best way to do it is demand reduction. That is the second option that you have. Targeting the potential consumers, treating them, and then carrying on with advocacy. I'm involved in the treatment and rehabilitation, but you need advocacy so that you don't get there.
The authority has collaborated with various stakeholders, beneficiaries and development partners who continue to support various aspects associated with the campaign against alcohol and drug abuse in the country. Aside from that, NACADA leverages on existing legislation to effectively deal with the complexity of drug problem through National Technical Committee (NTC) established by the government in 2011. The implementation of Narcotics, Drugs and Psychotropic Substances Control Act of 2022 requires active involvement, commitment of resources and action by all stakeholders.
We have not seen many of the counties take up this challenge of drug control, which is at full function. If you look at the Constitution Schedule 4, you will see drug control there, and you will see the licensing. Licensing is actually a very powerful tool for control. So what we are saying is, can there be a system where you can say enough is enough? And we are encouraging those responsible for licensing to also bring on board public participation so that people will decide whether they want more bars or they want less of bars. I think that is an important issue that we want to engage the counties to adopt. So we need to have more county governments come up, ring-fence resources, invest in prevention education, awareness creation and advocacy, and more importantly, those who are affected, let them do rehabs for them.
It started with the bishop signing, we confess our sins of negligence, and carelessness. We didn't know our children are being destroyed. Then they now say what they want to do.
We do programs to go to churches, to Christians, not only to pray in the pulpit, to teach there. Most of the clergy are motivated by our programs. And now they understood drugs is not a part of an ointment, drug is a disease.
Kama una afya mzuri, utajenga nchi yako. Sababu utafanya kazi, utakwenda shamba, utakwenda ofisini, utakwenda kwa serikali ufanye kazi. Lakini kama umejimaliza na ulevi, uwe Muislamu au Mkristo, hata ibada itakushinda. So nakuta ulevi imetiwa katika kipengele na Uislamu kama ni chanzo cha kurudisha nyuma maendeleo ya kiafya, kijamii.
Alcohol and drug abuse is a growing phenomenon among the youth, young adults and women. These groups are vital in the productivity and development of a nation. Statistics show that the burden of substance use disorders in sub-Saharan Africa has been projected to increase by an estimated 130% by 2050. Abuse of alcohol and drugs has various socio-economic effects to the users. Critically, it leads to serious mental health issues such as depression, developmental lags, apathy, withdrawal, and other psychosocial dysfunctions. Substance-abusing youth are at higher risk than non-users for mental health problems including depression, conduct problems, personality disorders, suicidal thoughts, attempted suicide, and suicide. Alcohol and drug abuse poses a major problem affecting the socio-economic development of a country.
Look at agriculture. There are 4 factors of production. 4. One is land, labor, capital, entrepreneurship, or management. So, with alcohol, land is there, but soon goes. To brought maguta maguta. That's a popular thing with the Kikuyus. They sell everything to be plots. Yeah? Labor is not there. Today, where you used to hire 1 man, you need 9 men. So they become even a liability. So people have resorted into some improvised approaches. For instance, you'll be surprised, they use chemicals to wind. Use of chemicals has its own serious disadvantages. So instead of having 1 man do, say, an acre, you have 9 men to do an acre or to do a harvesting. There is no labor.
In Kenya, it is estimated that more than half of drug users are aged between 10 to 19 years, with commonly abused drugs being alcohol, cannabis, glue, and psychotropic substances. According to a 2017 survey conducted by IDADA, nearly 12.2% of persons aged between 15 to 65 years, an estimate of 3.3 million Kenyans, actively use alcohol, while 10.4% are addicts. This survey further indicates that 8.5% of the population, which is 2.2 million people, use tobacco, and bang users at 1%, making 270,000 persons. Kenya has been recognized as a transit country for cocaine and heroin due to its strategic position, resulting to an upsurge of injecting drug users within the country.
The elderly man is Scottish, and he's now very old. He said, and I did not know, but they knew. He said, Kenya one day, if it is not washed, if measures are not put in place to control and manage the trafficking, the movement of drugs, said to come from wherever they come from, pass through Kenya to go to the market, they will remain in the country. Because today they said Kenya thinks that it has given away for drugs to pass, to go to other countries. And they benefit by those who sleep in hotels, organizing how they'll travel to the other destination. One day there will be no destination, but you'll add with them. These people will be London, which is now true.
Inaochangia sana hapa pwani vijana wengi kujiingiza kwa mihadharati aina mbalimbali. Kwanza ni availability. Inafanya vijana wengi wanaipata kwa rahisi na kujiingiza, sababu ya kwanza. Sababu ya pili, pia pressure ile. Unakuta kwamba vijana wanaposhikana basi ni rahisi kwa vijana kuingia kwa mitego kama hii.
Isiolo is the gateway to northern Kenya, and this county really is the transit route of drugs and substance that come from our neighboring country. They pass through our neighboring county, Marsabit, and there's around 3 routes that are being used by the drug fellows.
It is because of the growing concern on the extent of drug use in the country that the National Authority for the Campaign Against Alcohol and Drug Abuse, NACADA, was established.
Moi also was frustrated by somebody who had taken alcohol, and he wanted him to be helped, the family to be helped. So Moi said, Kagudi itaku appoint. He appointed Kagudi, and Kagudi was told to clear alcohol from the estates in Nairobi, not beyond that. That's the time when Kagudi was appointed being an administrator. He knew more than me because he was a PC. We joined together and we started working.
The executive authority of government at Article 23 that time, called section 23 of that constitution, vested the executive authority with the president, and it is stated who shall exercise that authority directly or through officers subordinate to him. I had retired in 1999, having served as in the public sector, heading up the top 2 was Provincial Commissioner Nyanza in Nairobi, and then Permanent Secretary and Director of Personnel Management in the Office of the President. That's the scenario. So the President makes an announcement, and it is stated from how it came in the media, the President has created the Office of the National Coordinator to campaign against drug and substance abuse in schools, other learning institutions, and on the street. He has appointed Joseph Kagudi to be the National Coordinator. I knew it is a complex threat to the country. I just went to Harambe House, head of public service. So when I go to the head of public service now, and she tells me, I just asked her, is am I relevant to the announcement yesterday? I mean, what you do, I am not aware. I'm not briefed. The president is in his office. Why don't you go there? She buzzes the president, and I go in. He comes to sit on the lounge. So he told me that more or less that he is concerned because the foundation of the country is getting destroyed by the youth involvement in drugs and substance of abuse. You know, that one is very clear. You can see what he has identified. So I waited now for instructions how to. He just looked at it, he just said, go see what others are doing. So I closed my notebook, put it in the pocket as usual. So I left. I knew I am on my own. I knew there is no section of paper that I referred to. I knew there is no single law that is going to guide this. So with the kind of exposure that I had in government, I decided what to do. The first thing is to get views. I've never, normally I'm the person who challenges professors, because I tell them we pay you to think. So they are the first lot that I approach. So I go to my notebook, all my contacts. Professor so and so, you have heard what the president said? Yes, that thing is so serious. Then they talk. Finally, and for me, I just want to know what is the scope of the problem. If nothing is done, what is going to happen in the country? And 3, what is it that must be done? Those are in my questioning. That's right. Or retired officers, colleagues that I worked with, politicians, within my scope of contacts. Every one of them, I was ending up with a very specific request. Saidia Mimi, to know my feet. Give me a page or 2 or A4 as with the 3 things. What is the scope of the problem from where you stand? 2, if it's not addressed, number 2, what is the long-term implications to the country and ramifications? And 3, in your view, what must I do? They brought them. Go to NACADA, you'll get volume 1, volume 2, and volume 3 of those 3 answers to the 3 questions. And that's when I knew drugs and substance abuse is like, how do I describe it? It's like the bride and the elephant. Everybody sees it where they are. So when they came, I knew it is a complex threat to the country. And when the threat is of this magnitude, very complicated, what you do is that I decided burn it to its smallest unit. If you burn it to the smallest unit, you are therefore able to see it. And if you deal with it from that very small unit, then you command it. That's exactly what I did. So I knew then the kind of campaign I'm going to mount will have to take a format that I create.
What we did is, again, with Mr. Kaguthi then, and of course...
Ladies and gentlemen, let's settle down kindly. Our chief guest is about to make it to this place. It is our request that when our chief guest and the other invited guests get to this place, would require you to be upstanding, ladies and gentlemen. Would further request that we continue being in that manner until the national anthem is sung, and of course the opening prayer. Asanteni.
Tunasonga mbele watu wote wa Jamhuri yetu Kenya. Tunasonga mbele watu wote wa Jamhuri yetu Kenya. Haya sisi sote wananchi tushangilie. Eko Jamhuri, eko Jamhuri zote, eko Jamhuri Kenya yetu yaenda mbele. Eko Jamhuri zote, eko Jamhuri, eko Jamhuri Kenya yetu yaenda mbele. Mikoa yaenda mbele, wilaya zaenda mbele, tarafa zaenda mbele, nchi yote yaenda mbele. wakarudi nchini kwao. Kenya iko huru, Kenya iko huru, Kenya iko huru, madaraka ni yetu sasa. Kenya iko huru, Kenya iko huru, Kenya iko huru, madaraka ni yetu sasa. Uwezo ni wetu sasa, tunao uhuru kweli wa Kenya, wajitawala wananchi wafurahia. Kenya iko huru, Kenya iko huru, Kenya iko huru, madaraka ni yetu sasa. Kenya iko huru, Kenya iko huru, Kenya iko huru, madaraka ni yetu sasa. Serikali yetu imbioni, tunaendelea mbele. Serikali yetu imbioni, tunaendelea mbele. Tunafuata mwendo wetu Kenya.
Attention please, ladies and gentlemen, let's settle down. Our chief guest is just about to get inside. Asanteni.
Tuzidi kuenda mbio, sote tuende mbio, tupate maendeleo, nchi yetu iende mbele. Moto moto Kenya, moto moto Kenya, moto moto Kenya, serikali yaenda mbio. Moto 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 Kenya, moto moto Kenya, moto moto Kenya, serikali yaenda kweli, twaenda mbio. Popote Kenya yaenda mbele, popote kwa elimu twaenda mbele, popote makemamoni twaenda mbele, popote viwandani twaenda mbele, popote na mashambani twaenda mbele, popote kweli twaenda mbio. Popote Kenya yaenda mbele, popote kwa elimu twaenda mbele, popote matibabuni twaenda mbele, popote viwandani twaenda mbele, popote na mashambani twaenda mbele, popote moto 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 Kenya, moto moto Kenya, moto 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 Kenya, serikali yaenda mbio. Moto 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 Kenya, moto moto Kenya, moto 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 Kenya yetu yaenda mbele.
Ladies and gentlemen, let's get ready to receive our chief guest. Like I said, when our chief guest gets into the hall, we request that you stand and you continue standing until and after we've heard the national anthem as well as the opening prayer. Thank you.
I was with the guests. We go good.
Simon. DJ, you can play some music kindly as we wait for the chief guest to come.
Tushangilie Kenya, taifa letu tukufu, Kenya tunayoipenda, Kenya nchi tunayoipenda.
Twajivunia sana tukijiita wa Kenya, nchi yenye baraka. Kenya nchi yenye baraka. Tumekomboa Kenya, taifa letu tukufu, tumebadili mwendo. Tutalinda katiba mpya. Anayependa Kenya ni yule mwenye kutenda haki kwa watu wote. Mtu mwenye kutenda haki. Na ukipenda Kenya ujitengane na mambo yenye kuvunja amani. Hatutaki matata Kenya. Wenye nchi.
Attention please, ladies and gentlemen. Our chief guest is making his way into the hall. Let's be outstanding. Asanteni sana. Thank you, ladies and gentlemen. All protocols observed. Let's continue, be standing. we want to start with an opening prayer, and I want to take this opportunity to request Reverend Ngugi, an IDADA board member, to open with a word of prayer.
The only true God, seated in the power of your majesty, the beginning and the end. We commit this meeting into your hand. We are so grateful that you have gathered us here. And all the agendas we are going to discuss, we commit everything to you. Thank you because you begin with us and end with us. And therefore, we set and commit everything now from beginning to the end into your hands. And it is in Jesus' name we pray and believe. Amen.
Thank you. We can have the national anthem followed by the East African as well. Thank you very much. Ladies and gentlemen, we can take our seats. Our chief guest, the PS State Department for Internal Security and National Administration, Dr. Raymond Omolo. The elected leaders represented here. We have the area MP, the Honorable Felix Oduor, aka Jalas. We have the women rep for Nairobi, the Honorable Esther Passaris. The board chair, NACADA, NACADA board members represented here, the CEO NACADA, the regional commissioners represented here, the county commissioners represented here, other invited guests, including our stakeholders. All protocols observed, ladies and gentlemen, good morning. We are here today to celebrate the International Day Against Drug Abuse and Illicit Trafficking, also known as IDADA. This is a conversation that started way back in 1987 after a special UN session on drugs. And over the years, we have commemorated this day to appreciate the efforts that the warriors in the campaign against alcohol and drug abuse have undertaken. Our chief guest, this year's theme is People First, Stop Stigma and Discrimination and Strengthen Prevention. Having said that, today we have lined up also, we have some documents that we'll be presenting. After that, we also have entertainment from Bomas, and of course, we'll crown it up with the speeches. Having said that, I want to take this opportunity to request my colleague and of course the Bomas to get us some entertainment as we make progress. Some entertainment, please.